All right, we are here live with a great guest. I'm here with former Texas Wesleyan, former Falcon tryout, former
Former
many
a lot of
football
things.
leagues around the world. Welcome in Justin Arth. Justin, welcome to the show. Great to have you on, my man.
Hey, nice to be here, Lucas. Hey, thanks for having me on. I know it's an unfortunate situation with this Georgia Force thing, but hey, glad to be on.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about this as well. Um, this was just insane overall. Just talking about what you went through. Let's go over your tweet first of all. The Georgia First has officially folded, and the AFL has yet to pay me or my teammates' salaries for the first two games we played in. I personally have spent money to make sure that my teammates can eat, and I've run out of money that affects me going to another team out of state. A few of my teammates are now stranded in the team hotel and need to be out by Saturday. I will do what I can to help them, but I am now a free agent looking for a new home. There's more I can say, but I would like to continue to be a professional in all senses. If you'd like to help the local theaters, you got the GoFundMe. Holy cow, dude. That was insane.
Yeah,
Knowing the hard truth about the AFL and everything that went on. Just talk to me before we get into all of this. Talk to me about the beginning, like after you get out of Texas Wesleyan, what happens right after that? Do you go straight to the combine? Did you get any like pro invites, do any workouts or something like that? What was
yeah.
that?
Yeah, so when I was at Texas Wesleyan, I kind of have a funny story there where I basically went from like starter to scout team back to starter when COVID hit. So my college career was even kind of funny and crazy in that sense. But I was a graduate degree grad with the COVID stuff and thought I could come back, couldn't. So with that, I didn't reach out to find an agent. I had talked to a couple NFL scouts that had come to practices, had seen me throw. They were coming for other people, but then they saw me. It's like, oh yeah, who's this Justin Arth guy? So I knew that there could have been an NFL draft grade thing if I pursued it, but the way our college kind of did things during COVID was we were going to come back and play in the spring. So I had planned to do that, even though I was graduating in the fall and was told that I could come back and just money situation, whatever, with budget cuts of the university and all that other kind of stuff meant that once I came back, there was a bill that needed to be paid. And I'm like, hold on, like, can we get this taken care of? And then the circle goes around to the athletic director and it's like, hey, you got to take one credit hour to still be eligible. Your coach has kind of told you wrong. So I was already back and had to make the tough decision to say, hey, like I've already got a bachelor's and a master's degree from Texas Wesleyan. So what's taking an underwater marble stacking class for $3,000 going to do to help me get 6 more games of film? And ended up being the right decision because linemen ended up getting COVID like right before the 6 game season started, and then they canceled our season, so I wouldn't have played anyway. But yeah, with that, I missed the NFL draft deadline to apply for the draft because I went back. And I didn't have an agent or anything like that. And so I started looking for jobs. I went back home to Atlanta and had a buddy of mine who I played against at Texas College was like, hey, I'm playing for this arena team in Atlanta. We need a quarterback. Come join it. So I joined the Peach State Cats very quickly after. Around that same time, I started working with Tom House, who trains Drew Brees and Tom Brady and all those kind of guys. And then was invited to a combine. Wasn't the main combine, but it was the National Scouting Combine in Indianapolis at the same time as the NFL Combine. So a lot of the NFL scouts would kind of whistle their way over there and kind of watch you, see what you got going on. So yeah, all that kind of started off good and had a great arena season with or at least a great 4 games with the Peach State Cats. Ended up winning Rookie of the Year with all that and was on to bigger, better things. Had some tryouts with the Falcons and 49ers and a bunch of other arena teams later. And then fast forward now, I was trying to make my outdoor or get back outdoor, but then the Georgia Force kind of came along. And hey, when they're promising you $1,000 salary per game, you get to stay at home, keep your normal day job, just to stack money on top of it, continue to pursue your dream, and you're playing on NFL Network. Like I looked at that as a great opportunity to say, hey, let's do this thing because I know I'm here. NFL contracts here. I just need a little more film to get there. Boom. So let's do what I got to do. Grow the exposure, grow the brand, whatever, and be able to use that and leverage that for an NFL contract to live out my dream. 3 years later than I would hope it would have worked, but I'm loving the journey, loving the process regardless.
Yeah, and the problem is, especially at a school like Texas Wesleyan, they don't give out full scholarships. Because
No,
y'all
yeah.
were
So I was on
D3 or was it NAIA?
NAIA, yeah.
I
So
figured so.
NAIA and the Sooner Athletic Conference, and we were a startup program too. So
Right.
they hadn't had a football program in 75 years, and
Yeah.
we were the first class to bring it back. And yeah, so I was on half scholarship, and then the other half was taking care of academics. And then
Yeah.
obviously, once I started grad school, that academic scholarship goes away. So fortunately, football was able to pay my fall, like my fall and spring semesters whenever I was in school. But then the summer stuff, I had to still go take a loan out for that one.
Yeah, that's the disadvantage of going to a small school, especially because you're going to pay a butt ton of money just
Oh
to
yeah,
go play ball there. That's why
love
I just
Texas
decided.
Wesleyan, but it's expensive.
Oh yeah, dude. Because we in Louisiana, really the only small school we got is Louisiana Christian. I'm sure
Yep.
you've heard of it.
Well, yeah, they joined our conference after I left,
I
so they're in the
saw.
Sooner Athletic Conference now.
Yeah, I saw they won that conference just this past year as well.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, when they were after me for a little bit, they wanted some money, dude, and
Oh yeah.
we dirt poor at this point, dude. So, but didn't want to get into debt, so here I am over at Southeastern. But regardless of that, going back to the combine. How many people were there?
Oh man, probably about 120 or so. In terms of quarterbacks, there were 12 of us. And I mean, I was fortunate enough to be one of the top two or three, and had a lot of scouts kind of reach over and talk to me, stuff like that after. And then obviously, I kind of already had the contract sealed with the arena team I was already playing for at the time,
Good.
so I kind of already had that one because a lot of them was like your like arena league type things or overseas ball, and then NFL scouts are like, hey, well, just keep playing and keep doing what you're doing. I think we're interested, but let's just kind of see what film you give us later, and here's your card, so send it to me when you got it.
So, talk to me about your experience with the Falcons. Did you make preseason? Did you play in a preseason game, or was that more or less off-season training?
Yeah, it was more off-season training stuff. So
Okay,
had the workout there, did some rookie minicamp stuff with them, kind of more brought in as a camp arm to just kind of facilitate, be another quarterback that could throw the ball to them, but really you get a look because you're the hometown kid because I'm from Atlanta. So yeah, no, loved that opportunity. Loved being there up in Flowery Branch. Was able to drive maybe an hour, 15 minutes, whatever it was. Obviously, it's like 2 hours through traffic, but being able to drive up there every day, go to the practices for the week that I was there, and come on back down this way and sleep in my own bed and all that other kind of stuff. It was great. It was great.
so you won't be leaving the Georgia anytime soon until you get a bigger contract or you get another job opportunity elsewhere,
Yeah.
somewhere.
So the
I
way
got
my football career's kind of gone is I'm still living in my parents' basement. I got a nice setup here. And I got a normal day job as a substitute teacher. And obviously, I run my own coaching business for quarterbacks. And then I obviously work with Tom House with national pitching. I got coaching later today. That's why I got the shirt on now. But so I kind of do all those three things to kind of make ends meet. And then that allows me to have flexibility to continue to pursue this thing, be available for tryouts, be available for teams that want to sign me, play, and all that kind of stuff. So the money isn't great right now, but like me and a bunch of my other friends say, I'm okay eating the crap sandwich right now. If that means here very soon, I'm eating the nice little gourmet BLT.
Look, I'll say this. My mom always told me as long as you have a good job, if you're staying close home, you can stay here as long as you want. And until you
Yep.
get the finances to move out elsewhere, get out.
Oh, of course,
So,
yeah, and I'm very fortunate that my parents allowed me to stay here and all that. I'm good enough to handle my own bills, so I take a lot of the stuff off of them. But yeah, no, the non rent cost is good for me to stay here, and they don't charge me rent, so I'm happy for it.
hey, let's go. All right. So, let's go ahead and just get to the nitty gritty. Talk to me about initially how you got introduced to the Georgia Force and talk to me about the events leading up to the official folding of the Force.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll try to keep this as short as possible because sometimes I can get long-winded. But
You're good.
yeah, no. So I was already this being my third year, or what is my third year of professional football, third year in arena football, stuff like that. I'm kind of already well connected with a bunch of these different leagues. I've kind of seen how a lot of this stuff works. My ears are always attuned to what's starting up, what teams are coming around, things like that. And I've got some really good connections like Sam Just, Chris Voss, and Michael Washington over at Shady Sports Network that I do some content for over there too. where they're kind of even more connected than I am. I just kind of see it all through Facebook or Twitter and all that, and I know at least what to look for. But they're like covering it like in depth, and so they'll send me little Facebook messages here and there saying, "Hey, this league's going to start back up, or this team's about to start, or this league's looking for a quarterback, or this team's looking for a quarterback. You should reach out to them." And in a way, they're kind of acting as my agents now, which is great because I don't have to pay one anymore. But yeah, so I'm kind of always attuned to that, and I was already signed with the Carolina Cobras in the National Arena League when the AFL announced that they were coming back. Once I kind of saw that they were going to be offering 4 times the amount of salary that I would have been playing for anywhere else, would have been double what I would have been making in Carolina, but which was a blessing even at that to be offered that from Carolina. But to triple or quadruple my salary in some cases was a great thing, as well as then the promise of playing on NFL Network and all that. And so I was like, okay, if they bring back the Georgia Force, or even just in general, I would want to play in the AFL, because if it comes back to being what Kurt Warner played in and things like that, it's good for me to be there. And that next step of the career that I need to go from professional arena football that is legit in most senses, but being able to take the platform a little bigger, to be able to stand on a little higher pedestal to tell these NFL teams that have worked me out, that say all the time that they're interested, but it's never enough to sign on the dotted line. Like, hey, now I'm playing a little bit better competition. I'm getting paid a little more, and go from that to say, hey, like let's get me into camp and let me go prove that, just like Tom says, I'm just as good as the number 2 on most of these NFL teams. So now I need to go prove that so I can stay as the number 2 and then work my way up to a number 1 over time, whatever. But so I kind of knew the Georgia Force were coming back. They had a previous owner that announced it, or when the league announced things and the Georgia Force were finally announced, they had an ownership group in place of some sort, different coaching staff. And so some receivers that I train with here in Atlanta already knew those coaches and was like, hey, you need to come to these workouts because these are the coaches that are coaching the Georgia Force. Come out, throw for them. And so I'd go out to them, connect with them, and I was like, okay, well, hey, I'm signed with the Carolina Cobras right now, but if you can offer me a better deal, like I'll talk to Coach Negron and be like, hey, I got a better deal, I got an upgrade, like, sorry, I got to go. Well, then very quickly after that, Lee Hutton and the league stepped in, kicked that ownership group out, or that ownership group left, one of the two. I'm not even 100% sure. And so the league then took over the Georgia Force. And at that point, I'm like, okay, well, there's no coach. It went like a month or so without having a coach or nobody to contact for the team. So I'm like, okay, well, it's camp time for Carolina. I'm going to Carolina. Things just didn't work out there. They kept one QB on roster. Good friend of mine, Guy Myers. So he's still there now playing well. He was in the UFL as well. So just didn't shake out there to stay there because he had previously played for the team too. So maybe some of that works there. But either way, had a good camp, but not good enough to make the team. And so I got released, and that's around the same time they released tryout information with the new head coach of Durwood Rockmore. So I was like, okay, well, I'm still in Carolina. Let me text this coach and say, hey, I just got released from Carolina Cobras. I'm interested in playing for your team. I'm a local guy. Here's my resume with the NFL camps, NFL workouts, all that other kind of stuff with all the arena teams I played for. Like, just send it off and say, hey, I can't come to your tryout because I'm still in Carolina, driving home the day of it. But if you'd want to come to any of my workouts, feel free. I throw with all these receivers like 4 times a week. Like, you can come here. So I had a couple phone conversations with him. He wouldn't really answer text messages. But he would constantly say like, hey, like text me when you're working. I live 15 minutes from where you train. Like, I'll come out, watch you. Well, 2 or 3 weeks go by and I'm texting him almost every day. Like, hey, I'm throwing these receivers this place, this time, whatever. Wouldn't show up. And then I'd get a random phone call on Good Friday, leaving my Good Friday church service, stuff like that. And he's like, hey, can you send me your email? Like, text me your email. I'm like, okay, cool. Sure. I'll send you the email. And then before you know it, contract's there. Sign the contract, get on the dotted line, like, boom, I'm a Georgia Force quarterback. But then there would be another week and a half of no communication at all. I'm not being told when training camp would be. Like other arena teams I played for, typically we would have meetings beforehand. We would have a playbook in our hand, things like that. Wouldn't hear any of that, wouldn't get any of that. And I'm like, okay, well, the season's starting like April 28th. And now it's like April 20th, like what's going on? I haven't heard anything. And so I'd reach out, but I knew I was local too. So it was one of those things where, okay, I could just hop in the car and go to practice, whatever. but wouldn't hear anything until like the 25th when we get an email saying you need to complete this physical. And it ended up being like a physical that you'd need to go to an orthopedic doctor to get like a $500 orthopedic physical thing for, when other arena teams that I played for brought people in-house to do that. And so the one workaround that all of us teammates kind of figured out was, okay, we're just going to go to Walgreens or Walmart, whatever, have them do it, even though they can't do the full physical. Just have them sign it off, whatever, because if the league's giving it to us 3 days or the coach is giving it to us 3 days before we show up to training camp, then like what's going on here? And then finally, after we got that email, got told we're showing up to training camp, and report day was to a hotel that was a little shady on the west side of Atlanta, called like the Savannah Suites on All Welcome Road or something like that.
If
kind of
it's
like
not a brand hotel like a Motel 6 or
no.
a Comfort Inn, no.
Yeah,
Don't
so it
even
was like
send
a
me there.
Savannah Suites or something like that. We showed up to it, and I'm thinking, okay, this is not great, but I'm still living in my bed, living in my house, going to sleep in my bed, working my day job, whatever. So I'm not going to worry about it. But our first meeting was in a hotel room that they moved beds out and put chairs in. It wasn't it wasn't in at least like a meeting room at a hotel. So I'm like, okay, this is different. But if the $1,000 check comes in, if I'm playing on NFL Network, sure, I'll go through this, whatever. But that's the only meeting we would have. Coach still wouldn't give us a playbook. He told us like, hey, the way I work is everything's up here. You're a professional. You just got to adjust. And I'm like, hold on, no, I know I'm an over analytical guy. Like, give me a playbook so I can kind of like Drew Brees and like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning it, like look in this thing and know it in and out. And I know that's different for some quarterbacks, especially at the arena level. But even then, I'm like, okay, no playbook. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
No meetings. No social media. That's another thing. We had no social media, so I didn't know anybody on the team other than like another agent posting on Facebook his own graphic saying that a couple of his guys had signed. So I had no idea who was on the team going into it or anything like that. And then we show up to practice the Monday morning, or excuse me, the Monday afternoon at a facility that was actually found out later that the kicker had gotten for us to use, not the league office or the league owner or anything, but we do that, and we don't even have footballs. We don't have helmets, don't have equipment. And so I'm like, okay, we got 6 days of training camp. We play in like 10 days, and we don't have footballs, don't have equipment, don't have any of that. So the first 2 days were straight up conditioning. The footballs come in on the Wednesday. So day 3 of camp, we would have footballs, but we really wouldn't do much. It'd still be more conditioning and then just kind of walking through things, because that's when he finally started teaching an offense. And then we still didn't have helmets and pads until the Tuesday of game week. And we only practiced for an hour and a half for 3 days a week before we would hop on a plane and go to West Texas. So, and even then, the non-local players, like I've been a non-local player up until now playing for the Force. And everywhere I've played, there's been food vouchers, like where we have sponsoring, like restaurants, things like that, to give you like $15 here. So obviously, like if you get an $18 meal, you still pay $3, but $15 are taken off with the food voucher. Food wasn't provided to the non-local guys. Well, it wasn't provided to the local guys either, but obviously we're local, so we go home to our houses. So no food provided. And obviously training camp isn't paid for. So some guys were on previous AFL teams coming straight down, and they had just gone through a 2-week training camp because they started earlier, not getting paid, coming down here. The only thing that was paid for, fortunately, for the non-local guys were the hotel. That was roughly like $150 a week or something, is what I was hearing. And that was paid for by the league. But outside of that, once we got into game week, no salaries, no meals were being provided. Guys were spending all their money on food. And come week 2, coaches or the players were starting to bring up to the coach, like, hey, like we haven't eaten. We need stuff to eat. Like, I'm a lineman, I need to eat, or I'm a DB and I still need to eat something. And so once I heard that, and coach's response to that was kind of defensive, more of like, okay, you guys just need to be a man. A man should always have money on the back burner for this kind of stuff, when he already knows we hadn't been paid. Once I heard that, I'm like, something was
Was he
stirring in my
getting
heart.
paid during this time?
So, and that's the thing. He was never telling us any information, and he got very frustrated whenever another player, another quarterback actually, spoke up and asked coach, was like, "Hey coach, so have you been paid?" And then he got all defensive and mad that we asked him that if he was getting paid and wouldn't, and was very standoffish against. So, and then later in group text that whenever we were canceling practice and ended up folding, he was saying that he was being paid, or excuse me, he was saying he wasn't being paid, but our kicker has potential receipts that say that he was getting paid, because the kicker's got an even crazier story where he could have been a GM and owner and stuff for our team, and Lee Hutton and the coach turned it down because they wanted control of the team. When we had funding, we had a home arena, and all that other kind of stuff set in place by our kicker, who did all this work because he played arena football for a while. He's a very successful car salesman here in Atlanta now, had sponsorship set up for us. Everything was going to be taken care of. We had a gym set up, but they turned it down because Lee Hutton and Coach Rockmore wanted control of the team, and they just, in a way, kind of ran it into the ground. And we had no way of connecting to Lee Hutton because we thought it was a Lee Hutton issue. Come to find out later that Rockmore and Lee are friends. They played together. They might be business partners. And all that is information I've heard through the kicker, through like receipts and stuff he has. So I don't necessarily have that. But yeah, no, just whenever the coach was very standoffish about food, something was stirring in my heart. I'm like, these are my teammates, and I'm a Christian, so the love of Christ compels me to do things. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey, non-local guys, hop in my car or call an Uber and meet me at this Kroger or whatever you got to do to get there. Hop in and we're going. And I bought groceries, and it was for that week because we all assumed that, okay, we didn't get paid for week one, but the money's going to come in. So let's just kind of do that, and you guys can pay me back after, whatever. Well, then week two comes and still nothing. And that's when we went out to Oregon. We come back. Coach cancels practice on Tuesday, and I'm thinking, okay, well, we just got back Sunday night at like midnight into Monday morning, so maybe he's giving us an extra day of rest. And plus, the team we were supposed to play folded a week before anyway, so maybe we got a bye week. Who knows? So I chalked up Tuesday, no practice, to being that. And then Wednesday comes around, get another text, no practice. And then Thursday comes around, no practice. And I'm like, hold on, we now haven't practiced this entire week. What's going on? And at that point, I was seeing some rumor mill things about the Georgia Force maybe folding, and obviously we hadn't been paid. We were constantly being told every week, oh, paycheck's coming Monday. Then Monday would come, sorry, boys. Lee said there's no check coming. Then come and wait till Friday. And then Friday would come, no check, and we got to be traveling. Well, hey, play this game and force them to pay you, because it does say in the contract that if we were to strike, we forfeit our right of being paid. So, we're kind of in a way forced to play. And then they started canceling practices, and paychecks still weren't coming. Guys were getting very frustrated with the coach and things like that. And then Thursday night at like 8:55 p.m. or 8:53, I think is the official time, because I've had to send the text out to multiple different journalists that want it. We got a text from the coach basically saying that that Lee Hutton has said the Georgia Force is folded. You or I have not been paid, nor will we be paid. And just kind of left it at that. And then about 10 minutes later, texted a thing saying that players that were in the hotel had until Saturday to get out. And that was what it was kind of left. And our group chat was going crazy. Then our kicker brought up a potential lawsuit with Rockmore and Lee Hutton and all that, because of the information he had previously that none of us knew about. And then as soon as Rockmore saw that, he left the group chat, and we've not heard from him since. So that's when that prompted me to make that post, because a lot of things had obviously been happening the first 3 weeks before, where we didn't have equipment on time. Like travel was being paid for by the opposing team that was traveling us out there to play, as opposed to the league paying for it. We weren't getting salaries. Food wasn't being provided to the non-local guys. And so I took it on myself, probably shouldn't have, but I took it on myself to make sure my teammates could eat. And it was something I didn't have to do, but it's something I chose to do. And then obviously if it wasn't for Zach Keeleman, another journalist who kind of gave me the idea of like, hey, I've got people reaching out to me saying we've got people wanting to donate to help the non-local guys. I'm like, well, hey, that's a great idea. So I stayed up till like 2 a.m. that morning, putting together a GoFundMe. And then within 12 hours or something, we hit the $2,100 goal of giving it all the 7 non-local guys $300, and they've got the money now. And it was able to subsidize their way of getting home. So anybody who donated, if any of you are watching, thank you. I mean, it took longer to get the money out because I had never worked with GoFundMe, so I thought once it was donated and processed, we'd get it, but it took a while to process. So,
Right.
but so it's things I didn't even know, but hey, you'll know it now. But yeah, it's just been a crazy situation. And then it's obviously now been a week and a couple days since the team officially folded. I think it's been, what, 9 days now since the team's folded. And I've had a couple teams kind of reach out, but because I haven't been paid what they've been telling me, fortunately, I still had a job, but I still had to cut some coaching sessions. I still had to work less days in the school to be available for practices or travel, things like that. So I don't get paid a whole lot doing what I do outside of playing, and so it's hard to go pay a last minute $700 plane ticket to get to a random town where another arena football team is, and for a salary that's 4 times less than you were supposed to be getting paid here. So a lot of it's just getting back ready to work. I've got a workout with NFL scouts and NFL teams in attendance on June 8th. So that's kind of my main next thing up there. And then playing for Team America again, like I did in January of this year, just to kind of get some more outdoor film and things like that. And reaching out to international teams and indoor teams alike to try to find the next greatest opportunity to get some film and continue to give NFL scouts, CFL scouts, UFL scouts, those type of guys who are interested, like more film to make a harder decision on whether or not to bring me in. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And I'm playing better than ever, throwing the ball better than ever. I'm ready to play. Obviously, the money part of it's the hard part of it that needs to kind of get solved. But yeah, no, outside of that, I mean, I think the AFL with the new leadership and ownership of Jeff Fisher, and things like, and the teams that were stable with true owners and things like that, I still think the league has a very positive chance of being great again. But now it's unfortunately got a lot of bad stick and bad press that now they're going to have to fight against, even though they might have better leadership running it now.
Yeah, and you mentioned new leadership, and it was only a couple days after you guys folded, Lee Hutton decided to. I think he was either fired or he resigned from his
Yeah.
job as
And that's the
commissioner.
thing too. I didn't even mention this. One of our former players, he played with me actually with the Peach State Cats and the West Texas Warbirds before they became the Desert Hawks. But his name's Brandon Thorpe. He's a D lineman, and somehow he found Lee Hutton's phone number and leaked it in our group chat. It's like, hey guys, we need it. And this was like at the end of week 1 when we didn't get paychecks, and so he was like, hey, text this number now because this is Lee's personal number. Like, we got to text it. And I mean, I sent out a text, a very professional looking text, basically just asking like, hey, Lee, we've heard other teams have been paid. I'm a quarterback with the Georgia Force, and we just want to have a conversation with you. We want to feel like we've been heard, and we want to feel like you look at us the same as you look at others. So we deserve a paycheck too, kind of thing, just asking for a conversation. Other teammates kind of went other ways about it, where their screenshots were very vulgar and things like that I won't disclose. But yeah, I mean, guys go about it their own different ways. But yeah, we all kind of texted them, and we all got left on red. So I still got it in my phone messages where it says red at, and it was the same day that I sent it, probably 10 minutes after I sent it. No response. The only connection we would have to Lee Hutton was Coach Rockamore, who said every day at practice, "Oh boys, another day is just another day of adversity. Everything today is going to be different." And I just got off the phone with Lee and talked about this, and this, and I'm fighting for your salaries, or I'm fighting for this, or I'm fighting for footballs, or I'm fighting for equipment. And little did we know that they were probably just kind of shooting the breeze, being buddies, whatever, probably. So yeah, it's all been crazy. But hey, I mean, the teammates I created there, the friendships I made there are still going to be ones that, because of the situation, because of the adversity we went through every day, even though it was only 3 weeks, we're a brotherhood now. And I'm rooting for every single one of them in the positions that they're going off to, the other quarterbacks on the roster, the receivers, the D linemen, everybody. Like, I want them to be just as successful as they want me to be. And yeah, I mean, it's all looking for whatever's next now.
Yeah, that's good, dude. So, I mean, everything that you've been through is unbelievable. I mean, you lost out on what, $2,000-3,000 just
Yeah.
over a weekend,
Yeah. Over
and
3 weeks, $2,000.
oh my gosh, dude, I couldn't. You got so from this is where we're just going to summarize a little bit. You guys had to pay almost were $500 for a physical. When I'm in
Oh yeah,
school,
if we would have went about the way of getting the physical that the league wanted us to get, some guys said it would have cost an orthopedic doctor to do it $500 or $600. So all of us did like the $60 Walgreens one,
yeah,
and they wouldn't even do the full physical. It's really more them just like checking stuff off because they're trying to help us out and then sign it, which is putting their career on the line too as a doctor.
that's so freaking. So you guys basically risked other doctors' careers. When I was in school, whenever I was in high school, college, we had our physicals for free. Now, I mean, anything can be different at the professional level, but I mean, I'm
Well,
sure
I've
the
never
NFL does.
paid for a physical at the professional level either. Like I mentioned, other like when I played in the IFL with the Tucson Sugar Skulls, when I even played with the Carolina Cobras earlier this year in the National Arena League, we would show up and a team doctor was there to do physicals, and
Yeah,
that was hired by the team to do it. And it's 100% free because it's part of your contract.
yeah. Did you
And then that's
recognize
the
any
thing
of the?
too. We even had one or two players that were brought in later that were never emailed the physical, so they were playing in games not even having done a physical.
Oh
And
my
that's one thing that I've
gosh!
yet to say
Oh
outside
my
because I don't want to get them in trouble,
right,
the players. But obviously, we're folded now. Whatever you can kind of say, whatever the truth
right.
was. So we had two or three players that had no physicals playing, and then everybody else on our team was doing the Walmart brand physical or the Walgreens brand physical in my book, where the doctor told me when I was getting it done, she's like, well, we don't do this, and do your knees work? Do your ankles work? Okay, well, I don't have to look at any of that then because we're not allowed to. So we can do just a base physical, and they want more, but we can't do that. So I'll just go ahead and check it off for you and sign it off.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So and more than likely that's very similar with other teams in the league that might even still be playing. I mean, I haven't asked that question to a bunch of my buddies that play for other teams because I've got a couple buddies that play in Salina, a couple in Washington, and a couple at Nashville and stuff like that. But those are questions I haven't asked. But more than likely, it's probably very similar because it's all the same stuff we were sent. The contract looks exactly the same from every team around the league. The physicals look exactly the same. So it was probably just shipped out league wide to everybody. And other teams just had their ways of going about it.
So a couple of days ago, Jeff Fisher just got named as interim AFL commissioner. I
Mm-hmm.
know he's in a tough situation. You've got
Yes.
4 or 5 teams that's already folded. You're in a
Mm-hmm.
position where this league is going to go bankrupt for the second or third time in their
It'll be the
history.
third, yeah.
And they've been struggling the last 15 years. And it wasn't but 20 plus years ago. This was a league that was on ABC. They were on ESPN. They were well widely known. You had guys like Kurt Warner that came in and made a name for themselves.
Getting
Went
paid
to the league,
15
got
to 20K a game. Throw that out
exactly.
there.
They were getting bonuses. They had actual contracts, and now for the third time in a row, this will probably be a bankrupt league that has screwed the eyes out of not just you, but many others that haven't spoken up.
Yeah.
And it's just unbelievable to think about, and it's unbelievable to see how far this league has just gone downhill from where they were 20 plus years ago.
Yeah,
So
and unfortunately, it's just mismanagement at the top. Because like I've said before, there's plenty of teams like Nashville and Albany and West Texas and others that have true ownership groups that are running things the right way, that are class organizations, are organizations that I would love to play for still. And it's just the ownership and leadership at the top wasn't right. It didn't set things up, was very disorganized in how things were put together. And we're seeing it rearing its ugly head now with teams that never had ownership. And funny enough, the teams that never had the ownership that have now folded were the teams that were the legacy teams that were coming back. And I think Lee Hutton just assumed that, hey, they're the legacy teams, the Philadelphia Soul, the Georgia Force, Louisiana Voodoo. Those are three teams that they just got to start playing, and then money will come because there's going to be millionaires that want to invest in it because of they're a legacy team. But it never happened.
so much more than just about being a legacy team. It's about fan attendance. How is the league
And
managing
we
the
didn't have
team?
home games, so we weren't
Exactly.
going to grow a brand here in Atlanta.
I think I saw one Louisiana Voodoo game, and that place was only with 500-600 people in there
Yeah.
at best. A promoter got fired that day. So that's unbelievable to say in the least. So going into the future for you, Justin, if football, you're playing career wise, if you don't happen to get a contract or if
Mhm.
anybody doesn't seem to reach out to you, is coaching in the future? Like, what is your career? Do you want to go high school? Because I know you're a substitute teacher now, or do you want to just retire from football and just teach for your career? I don't.
Yeah, no, the substitute teaching is what I do to give me flexibility, and trust me, I'm constantly looking for remote jobs that'll pay me more than that and give me the
Right.
same flexibility. So, the teaching in a high school or middle school, I do not think that's in my future. I mean, yeah, I love helping out elementary, middle school, high school kids through the private coaching and stuff I do. So yeah, a lot of what I've done in my career thus far is I've been connected to some very official and legitimate people like Tom House and Cam Cameron and those kind of guys. Quincy Avery, I trained with for about 5 years, even before Tom. So I'm kind of well connected in this quarterback training sphere. And I know a lot of information too. Tom's even told me, like, hey, you remind me of Drew Brees, like young Drew Brees when I first got him, as the player and as the personality. But at the same time, like, you're also one of the smartest guys I've been around, and you can coach for me as long as I'm alive. And then obviously I'm really close with the other upper heads at Tom House Sports too. So I think I got a job there the rest of my life as long as I want it. But yeah, no. So from the baseball side of things, I'll be with Tom House Sports till the day I die, whether that's the side job or the main gig or whatever. The quarterback training, we still train quarterbacks at Tom House Sports, so I'm still certified a quarterback trainer with Tom House. But Tom kind of sold that off about 10 years ago to Adam Dato and 3D QB when they kind of split off. And so Tom's kind of given me, with the new information we have, has given me kind of a license to say, hey, like, you are a quarterback, you can grow your brand. And so I've got the A11 performance plan. So at A11performance.com, that is one of my things. It's kind of like the website of all Justin Arth, so merchandise, the training, all this other kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I kind of envision in my future. But in terms of coaching, I've never said no to it. I just don't think I can do it at the middle school or high school level, just because I don't see myself as a teacher per se. I see myself more as a guy who could be a true coach, as opposed to teaching you social studies or teaching you math or something like that. So yeah, that's A11performance.com right there. And I got a lot of stuff over there and got great stuff there. And yeah, but I would love to coach in college, love to coach at the professional level, but I definitely don't think my professional playing career is over yet. I'm giving myself at least another 2 years of pursuing this because, hey, I'm still only 25 now. So there's a lot of guys playing into their 30s and all that. So I can still have a pretty good career. It's just find other ways to make the money meet to allow you to pursue it. And Lucas, I think you're muted here, so I can't hear you.
So you got close to almost 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's another thing that you want to do. Just stay on the social media side of things, do podcasting, stay in the media industry.
Yeah, so I've kind of got a lot of different avenues. Obviously playing comes first. The coaching and coaching training business and stuff comes second. But a lot of people have told me I do pretty good with media interviews, and I got a pretty good voice for it if they can just kind of coach the twang out of my voice. So very knowledgeable in the game. I'm a football IQ junkie. That's kind of what makes me a good quarterback. And so analyst work, TV broadcasting, all that stuff's kind of in the future as well, potentially. But obviously, I know you got to be a little bit bigger of a brand for that. But to kind of help grow the brand, to help get more exposure, to help me get that NFL contract. Yeah, the YouTube content, the TikTok content. I've got like 11,500 or whatever over on TikTok. A lot of that stuff, one, helps me grow the coaching brand because I post drills and workouts and training videos and stuff over there, as well as like my journey to help grow the brand, gain exposure, to help me achieve that goal of playing in the NFL. But outside of that too, yeah, like I want to take people behind the scenes of my journey. There's other people that do that as well. There's a lot of great people that do it. But if there's somebody else out there to be a role model, I would like to be that for somebody because I never had that growing up. I looked to the guys like Drew Brees and Aaron Murray and Tim Tebow and guys like that as kind of my role models, and never had that personally. to me until I kind of got to this level as a professional where I've got Tom House in my corner now. And now I can talk to Tom Brady. I can talk to Drew Brees. I can talk to any of the guys that he's trained, or Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson. John Rocker is another one that I talk to fairly often. So having that now is what I wish I would have had when I was 6th grade, 7th grade, starting playing football. And so I'm trying to be that even through posting social media content for somebody else to say, hey, like, my career's been rocky. Like, I played at a high school, had Division I offers, broke my collarbone, lost all the offers, went NAIA, even at the NAIA level, went from starter to scout team back to starter when COVID ended it all. And even through all that, you can still make a professional football career out of that. So just trying to be a role model and use the platform that I have to encourage somebody else. And if you have the work ethic, if you have the drive, there's nothing you can't accomplish.
Justin Arth, now the CEO over at 811 Performance, former quarterback for the Georgia Force. Thank you for stopping by, talking with us a little bit about your journey. We wish you the best of luck, continued success, and we will continue to be praying for you and the rest of your former teammates of the Force. Thank you for coming out, speaking out about your experience in the AFL, and continuing to be a voice for those who may not be able to speak for themselves. So you are very appreciative of that, my man.
Well, thank you for having me on. I mean, you're doing miracle work too, and covering us small guys too. So thank you for what you do, and thanks for having me on, guys. And yeah, go follow me on all the socials. I know there'll probably be links somewhere or whatever. So you can go follow my journey all over there, and I'll definitely probably be in touch.
Justin Arth, we'll see you later, man. Thank you for coming on.
See you guys.